been working relentlessly all week long, knowing that fall has started. I know this, so I don't want to be behind, of course. And I officially got my, not this one, but that one, my no-dig garden rows, totally ready for some direct seed sowing. Yes, we're doing this directly today. Now, I've been doing some research on onions, growing onions, because I've only really ever grown like a handful of onions at a time. And I'm talking like a handful, like 2 or 3 onions I've successfully grown at one time, where everything else kind of like, you know, didn't successfully work out. But this year, my plan is to have a really successful onion harvest. So I want to do everything by the book and not be this hard-headed gardener that just wants to like not listen to people and do whatever I want. So the reason why it is recommended for people in the warmer states to grow what's called as short day onion varieties is because we have less hours in the day during the fall to grow onions. So onions will need a certain amount of hours to create the photosynthesis and also in turn create a large bulb of onion. Now, in the northern climates, they can use varieties that are referred to as long day onions because they can grow their onions in these summer months where there's more light in the day. Now, we're growing onions in the fall, there's less light in the day, so we have to grow varieties that are going to be early and not require as much light, anywhere from, I believe, 11 to 12 hours of sun a day in order to achieve a nice bulb onion. I have picked the Texas Grano. It's an early onion variety. I have heard a lot of people say that they successfully grow this variety in Florida, so I'm excited to give this a try. I'm also going to grow some shallot options. Now, I do have 2 other onion varieties that I will put on the screen. I don't remember what they're called. I got from Baker Creek, and I scoured their whole website to see what varieties were short day. There was only a handful of short day onion varieties. Everything else is going to try to be good about marking them. And if I can't find a seed marker, I just go back and watch a video. I take a sip of coffee before I get started because I put it in a mason jar this time so the ants can't get in my coffee while I'm out here gardening. I'm going to do 3 rows of onions through here, so I'm just going to do this as like a marker to know to do my seeds here. Now I'm going to plant them at the very front of my garden because that is the sunniest part of this particular section of the garden. And the goal here, because we're growing these onions in the fall, is to give them the most access to light. So when you're picking an area of your garden, pick the sunniest part of your garden for your fall onions so they can have as much opportunity to access that light, and then you'll have a larger onion bulb as a result. Okay, I got those in the ground. As per usual, I planted too many because I find it to be easier to thin them out later. So as far as the spacing, it really just depends on the variety you're growing. Now with the Texas Grano, that's going to be like your larger onion variety. It says 18-inch by 3-inch, like a box. So you'll want to give it, I guess, a very significant amount of space. And with a shallot, it's only like 4 to 6 inches of spacing. So once you start to see the healthy sprouts take off, then start to thin them out accordingly. Now with all of them, from what I've seen, for the most part, it is around 12 to 14 days for germination. So you'll want to do whatever you can to keep that soil consistent in moisture level, because that's going to be your biggest challenge. And that's the same thing with carrots. It's a really long germination process. I want to say it's close to 3 weeks. It's been a while since I've grown carrots, I'm going to look at the seed pack, but that is going to be your biggest hurdle, is getting through the germination process. It is quite hot right now outside, and you know, so excuse my appearance if I'm looking a little melted right now, because that's how I feel. On to carrots. Now I'm going to grow 3 different varieties. Well, it's probably technically more than that, because one is a rainbow variety pack, which I love doing because you just never know what you're going to get, and it looks so fun. My favorite variety right now to grow is the Scarlet Nantes. I've had really great success with this variety. It's like an old reliable. Now you don't have to get these from like a fancy seed store. I've seen these at Home Depot and Lowe's, so it's a pretty like run-of-the-mill standard option if you're seeing some seed prices being expensive. Because I will say there are some heirloom varieties that are more expensive with any type of seed packs that are worth spending like maybe $4 or $5 on a seed pack. But then there are some options that are more traditional, and they're probably only worth spending like $2 on. So the Scarlet Nantes is going to be really easy to come by. And I also got a rainbow blend, which I always prefer to do. And this is what I would say would be one of those more unique options from Baker Creek. Now, I ripped off the top of this. I forgot what it's called. So I'm going to get these 3 options planted now. Okay, really quickly, with carrots specifically, those are not seeds that you want to hold on to for years on end and then finally come around to planting carrots. They are pretty sensitive to germination, so if you have an old seed packet, don't set yourself up for failure waiting for weeks on end for germination. Just get a new seed packet, because they're really sensitive to their age, I would say, and the efficiency that they are going to germinate as a consequence to that. And I've also heard that onion seeds behave the same way. I don't know that for sure, but I have heard that. So just keep that in mind, because the time is of the essence. Starting some beets. Now we have a Detroit beet, which is super standard. I think pretty much everybody has access to those seeds at almost every big box store. And I will say the standard varieties are that popular for a reason. So if you're new to growing anything, definitely try some of the more run-of-the-mill options. And then I'm also growing a tall top early wonder variety, which would probably also be standard too. Now, some of those heirloom varieties, they could be more complicated for whatever reason sometimes. So that's why I say if you're kind of new to any crop, go with the tried and true stuff first, and then start to branch out to some of those more fun, interesting heirloom varieties, or just do whatever you want. I mean, but that would be my advice to you. I'm gonna grow these 2 because I'm still not really great at growing beets for whatever reason. I'm still trying to figure it out. That's why I'm sticking to the easy stuff. I'm getting my beet. This is the early wonder. Okay, so we'll do that one here, and the Detroit one next to it. I don't know if I'm the only person who does this, which I'm sure I'm not, but every time I start to lay seeds or sow seeds for the crops like carrots and lettuce and things like that, my intention is this season we're gonna be so precise and take our time sowing these seeds, give them the appropriate spacing, and then like after a few minutes of laying the seeds, I just go like, forget it, and I just start like piling tons of seeds down the line, because I've always felt like it's easier to thin it out later, honestly, or have a little bit of a messy garden. I hope one day to have the self-restraint to put seeds like exactly how they're supposed to. If you do that, please give me your tips. I would love to hear how you are able to make those perfect rows of carrots or onions or anything like that, because I just don't have the patience. But I aspire to be that way. I'm going for like 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm just gonna go back later and cover with soil. Next, I'm gonna start growing some spinach. Now, I'm a little bit on the fence about starting the spinach right now because it is still really hot. The temperatures are around 90 degrees on the hottest days right now, but going into next week I'm seeing some days that are like 82, 83 as the high. So it's still a little bit early because of the temperature. I'm gonna give it a shot anyways. Worst comes to worst, I get another seed packet and I just start all over, because spinach only takes, it takes 7 to 14 days to germinate, but typically I see germination in around 7 days. I've only had really good success with spinach one time. Now, if you want to go by the book, it says every 3 inches, probably about a ½ inch seed depth. Or you can overcrowd spinach and kind of eat it like a microgreen type thing, like eat it young. But if you want to get the most out of your yield, of course, give it the appropriate spacing, because then the plant's going to have more opportunity to get bigger and produce more. And when we had really good success with spinach one year, it was like, oh my gosh, it was like heaven. Being able to come out and harvest spinach for different pastas and things like that, which in the season was very short-lived, but we totally just relished every single piece of spinach, because it's harder to grow spinach here in Florida. With most of these sensitive weather crops, you just have to get the timing right, and that is going to be, that's going to be a challenge because it's so hot here, but it's not, it's all possible. You just have to be more strategic. Now I'm trying to go back and cover my onion seeds, which smell so strongly. I love the smell of onion seeds, and also celery seeds. Those are like the 2 seeds that undeniably, that's an onion or a celery seed. Probably should have done it as I went, but we're just kind of doing our best. I've got some super dirty hands. Okay, we got a ton of crops in the ground, all nice and seeded. I have my cucumbers and everything still going back there. And the other things you can get started right now are brassicas, if you have not done that already, meaning broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, kale, everything in that family. Now, what I'm planning on doing, see right in front of this part of the garden, I'm going to spread out that huge pile of chip drop that just came and make a huge extension and make it just another no-dig garden. That is where I'm going to plant all of my broccoli and things like that this year. So they have their own kind of like designated area to grow large and not take over all of my raised beds over here. Because what I'm thinking is I might take all my peppers out of their pots and then put them in the raised beds, because they'll be happier that way, although they're pretty happy right now. And you can also start peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, anything like that. If you are in one of these warmer climates, there's still so much time. In addition, I'm going to get another row laid right there in between. I should have done 4 immediately, but I just didn't think about it, but I really should put 4 in there. So I'm going to add another row and then plant out some parsnips and like other kinds of root crops like radishes. If anybody has any suggestions, I'm all ears. But that is it for the day. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, watching me sow some seeds. Drop a comment if you have any questions. I love to hear from you guys, and until next time, bye.